2 games in the qualifiers for the World Cup. Won 1, lost 1. They won against Madagascar in Kumasi, but lost to Comoros a few days later. That was on Tuesday in an away fixture. And it's led to a number of things being said about our Black Stars, whether indeed Chris Hughton will be the man who can ensure that the Black Stars will qualify for the next World Cup. Is there an issue to do with the Chris Hughton management or his coaching? Is there an issue to do with the playing body? What is the real issue really with the Black Stars, and how come they seem not to be getting results that Ghanaians expect them to be getting, especially in the last year or so? In the qualifiers for both AFCON and the World Cup, and even in friendly games, they've not been too convincing in their matches. So to help us do this now, on the phone lines we are joined by an astute sports analyst and a good brother of ours based in Kumasi with multimedia in Shire FM. He's the head of sports or editor for sports at Inshira FM in Kumasi. Bismarck Owusu Bempah is his name, but we all call him Ayala. Thank you very much, Ayala, for your time with us on Star FM this evening.
It's my pleasure, Ben.
Always a good one to have you join us on the show. So, Ayala, let's take a look at the Black Stars. Is there anything wrong, actually, with the current Black Stars team, or do you think Ghanaians are just being a bit too expectant of results from the Black Stars?
Thank you very much. Ben, I think there's everything wrong with our Black Stars. But the bigger picture is that there are a lot of things wrong with our football. And Black Stars only seems to project those things that are wrong with our football. And I will begin by addressing the issue of the political administration of our football. And for me, that is what has triggered down and has affected the administration of the Black Stars in general. I remember during the normalization committee's job, in terms of their proposal to the football people, they wanted to change the structure of the FA. And you could see broadly from what Dr. Kofi Amoah, Madame Lucy Quest, now Dofole, and the rest of the ad hoc committee did, was to draw the attention of the football people and the citizens of Ghana that if you look at the football structure we've run over the years, it is more hinging on a political structure than a corporate one. So for them, we must change from a political structure of our football administration into a corporate structure. That would then zoom us into a proper corporate governance environment so that we will diffuse the political appointments and sentiments and all the undertones that have to do with running our football in general. But the football people did not understood what the normalization committee was talking about. So what they did was to get the documents of the normalization and revert to their own political system. Now, Ben, what I mean is that if we stay in context of the Black Stars, you remember so well that this current FA administration, led by Kete Kweku, during his first run up to becoming the FA president, told every Ghanaian and the football people that if he is given the power to run the FA as the president, he will want to do away with the Black Stars Management Committee system and come up with the National Team Secretariat. That would then, again, correct the old system of the political way we've run the Black Stars too as a product of the FA and zoom into a corporate environment where people will be given appointments based on merit, based on the job at hand, targets assigned to it, and when they meet it after evaluation, the system will be able to either continue or discontinue their job based on the results that they get. Now, Ted is voted into power. He gets there, and because the structure of the FA is still political, he abandoned that dream and then look at what he has gone through qualifying process and him becoming a candidate and everything that he has achieved with the people around him, and says, look, yes, I thought from outside I could inculcate a corporate governance system with the Black Stars and other products. But when I came, because of the political structure of the FA, I still think I must maintain the management committee at the national team level, and we still went back to the job for the boys. Now, you see, yes, fundamentally, we will need people to run the administration of our national team. But in the past, the results of the Black Stars committee structure has not given us much. Now, for me, if we are to even go specific with the current administration of our Black Stars, then the head of the Black Stars Management Committee is the vice president of the FA. Now, assuming we all come to a conclusion that the way the Black Stars are getting results, it is not up to the expectation of everyone. We go to tournaments and we fail. Now, if even we are supposed to say, okay, the conclusion is that the proper evaluation of how the Black Stars has been run in the last 2-3 years is not good, so heads must roll. Then do you think that a report from Mercado as the vice president of the FA and the head of the Black Stars Management Committee in the ESCO room where he's the vice president will elicit any kind of proper decision that the Black Stars has not been run well and that those who are leading its administration must be affected by their job and that they are not meeting standards. And because of that, we must remove this person based on target and replace with people who are competent to run the team. No. Now, because of that poor structure of the way we are running the Black Stars, it has not even informed government that in every football nation, the national team winning trophies and getting to where they must get to is a sporting project and not a political one. But our government look at our FA and the way they run things, and they don't assume any form of remorse to say, okay, if you are even running the team as custodians of the Black Stars in a political manner, then we also have every right to use the same product, the Black Stars, for our whims and caprices by making campaign promises with it, by trying to evade the space, even though we don't have the competence, to run the show and make it a political and a presidential project, whether the Black Stars will win or not. So it's a deep political structure problem with our Black Stars. And it involves everything that we are going through. The appointment of the Black Stars, who is fit to run the Black Stars, who are supposed to be close to the Black Stars as a national team, and all the other national teams. So for me, that is where the bigger problem is. And because of the way we run it and the structure, it has affected the key decisions around the Black Stars. Now, for instance, we went for one of the most embarrassing AFCON the last time. When we came back, it was the decision of the government and not the FA to change our coach. And we had to change Milovan Rajabach at the dismay of the FA. But the government says we engage the mood of the country, and for us to redeem our face and satisfy the public, we think it is time to change Milo. Now we change Milo, then the FA comes back to say, between the time that we've changed Milo and the time that we have to play Nigeria to qualify for the World Cup is very, very close. So for us, we want to maintain Milo's assistant, who is Otuado. We maintain Otuado, had 2 draws that qualify the Black Stars. We forgot our problem that we have overseen one of the most embarrassing AFCON in the last tournament. And because we've been able to negotiate Nigeria, then the FA gets the upper hand to tell the government, and the government is also deceived, to not do proper diligence, but to say, oh, let's keep Otuado and take him to the World Cup. They never had to visit the issue whether, indeed, the more targeted aspiration of the Black Stars, which is to win the next AFCON, is a project that began with where we exited the last AFCON, and now we have 50 days to play the next AFCON. So we should do a due diligence and find a coach that between those 2 years would have built the new Black Stars that we want to see, so that in the next 2 years we will be able to say that we have a consistent coach and a consistent technical team that has never negotiated all the errors and made mistakes, come up, build a team that is ready. We took Otuado to the World Cup, knowing very, very well that he had informed us that beyond the World Cup, he wasn't going anywhere with us again. We took him there because of power play, and the FA wanted him. We went for the World Cup, learned our lessons. Otuado left us. The moment Otuado left us, again, the power play between the government and the FA came to play, and the government got crazy. In the proper review of every Ghanaian, we thought, if we've disgraced ourselves at the World Cup, Chris was part of the technical team, and if we are dissolving it, then we think it is either we are taking a stringent decision to make everyone in the technical team go and get a new set of people. Government said no. Let's give the job to Chris Hughton. Now, when Chris Hughton was appointed, we all know it is open secret that the FA didn't really trust his competence. But they have to give in because the Otuado is gone, and it is now the turn of the government to take a decision for us. Without any sporting competence, without any technical know-how, the government stood their grounds and they gave the Black Stars Chris Hughton. Now, Ben, Chris Hughton is in charge. The excuse is that between the time that he was appointed and the time that he needs to build a team for the AFCON is too short. So when we are getting results that are not very, very consistent, we should be patient because he just came, and that we should have room for him to improve. Well, just 50 days to the next AFCON. And Chris Hughton has shown us that he doesn't really have the competence to really do the job with the Black Stars. We still are struggling with issues of passing of play, transitions, understanding of what really our playing style is, the subculture of the team is to get close to it. Will tell you the players are even confused about how Otuado really wants to play. Now, internal company rules and strict measures are not in place because they say Chris Hughton is a liberal type, where he doesn't really depend on a proper discipline subculture within when the Black Stars are assembled. So we are going through all these indecisions, power play, poor structure, and it's an indictment on our football structure. And the results is everywhere for us to see. So, Ben, for me, it's a deeper problem. But once we raise one product of the FA, it exposes us to all the problems that we are not having a concentration on, and we are where we are, Ben.
So for you, it's much bigger a problem than how some of us have been looking at it in the pure coaching or playing material issue. It's much bigger than that.
It's way bigger, Ben. It's way, way, way bigger. Now, when you get close and you depend on your journalistic work on the Black Stars, it is very, very clear that if left for the FA alone, Chris wouldn't be the coach of the Black Stars. He is. And he will be the one who will take us to the AFCON. Now, the assumption is that we have a contract with Chris that ends after the AFCON. And if he goes and fails, then the power play will again turn, where the FA then will also come in and make a strong case for who they think should be the head of the technical team of the Black Stars. So you see, we at the bottom will discuss the issues in terms of technical players' attitude, which we will get there obviously without discussion, the quality of our play and everything. But the bigger picture is that the structure and those who are in position to take decisions for us, the call decisions for us, are engaged in power play. So whatever analysis that we do down there, and the conclusion that we will draw, the people up there are playing politics with the core decisions that must be taken on this Black Stars team.
So while that goes on, what can be done by those of us who are down here?
We must continue to discuss. And in discussing it, we must continue to raise the issue of the best standards everywhere. Men. If you talk about why must government be involved in an exercise such as appointing the Black Stars coach, the normal rhetoric is that, but they pay the coach, but they are funding the Black Stars. So they must put their mouth where their money is. Then it is a lazy approach to this discussion. And we must have and alleviate the discussion beyond just them paying. Because for me, in the last 10 years, I have raised the issue that when you go to all the public universities in Ghana, as autonomous as those institutions are, the government still pay their vice chancellors and all their lecturers and everything that is supposed to run the universities. But government doesn't choose the university vice chancellors for them. Have we raised that issue too? Must government put their money, their mouth where their money is and start to choose the vice chancellor for the public universities? But the university council does. So why can't we have same discussion with the Black Stars and say that, look, in looking for the competence of those who are supposed to take technical decisions as to who must be the Black Stars coach, as to how call-ups must be done, as to how to develop the subculture of our Black Stars, as to identify the kind of players that are willing and will give us results in our national teams. These are technical issues and must be left for the technical people to take. But then again, I know that people who are listening to us on Star FM and Ultimate FM will be asking that, oh, but Ayala, this thing that you are saying, the FA itself has not positioned itself very, very well to give the government and we, the public, the indication that they have a setup that is proven to turn out the best decisions in terms of the technical people sitting down and taking the technical decisions for the FA. Because then, the selection of the Black Stars coach, if you go through the process, is done by the ESCO people. Now, with the recent election at the FA, where Akosiapia comes in, the people of ESCO had no technical person there. But they were the people who were taking the decision as to who becomes the Black Stars coach. Then you ask yourself, but you go to DFB in Germany, and whether Hansi Flick will go and Julian Nagelsmann will come, it's the prerogative of the technical directorate of the DFB. So why are we different? It is same with Spain. It is same with England. It is same with any member association that are thriving with their football. The technical directorate take their technical decisions, justify it in front of the ESCO. It is passed and we move. But in Ghana, we had the technical directorate that had no hands in choosing the technical team of our national teams. So, yes, the FA are confused. The government has taken advantage of that loophole to also exert itself where they must not come in. And we are all confused and having a debate that is endless. And we will continue to have it if we don't sit down to attack these issues the way they are supposed to attack and offer solutions that are everlasting and are critical to the problems that we are facing in Ghana with our national teams.
Obviously, it's a bigger and a structural problem with our football and how it is run and how the persons who fit into the structures are made to perform in there. But whilst we also work on that, let's take a look at the national team currently, the Black Stars team currently, the team that we saw play in the AFCON qualifier, the team we saw play in the World Cup qualifier, the 2 games between Madagascar and Comoros that failed to win the 6 points that Ghanaians were expecting them to do because they were playing against teams that we all thought should be teams that the Black Stars should be able to manage and get 6 points from. Zooming into the team itself, the coaching bits, the playing body, and all of that, what really is the issue in there? Why are they unable to play well and win games with a bit of comfort against some of these teams on the continent?
Man, teams are built like technical teams. for me, I am sorry, but Chris Hughton doesn't inspire much. I don't know what he does during training sessions. I don't know what he goes through during his selection process. But he has given us more questions than answers. For instance, I believe even those who argued that Chris is our man and after Otuado, he should be given the job. If you recap their debate then, one of the major reasons why people said we should give the job to Chris was he came across as a tough person. That we will entrust him to take the tough decisions. And that we will forever remember him as a no-nonsense person who would take those decisions that will automatically affect the subculture of the national team. And what I'm driving at is the kind of Black Stars as we see it. When we look back at the previous subculture of the team, all that Ghanaians crave for is for a coach that will step up in his shoes, make critical decisions and say, look, I am looking for competence, those who are getting playing time, those who are on form, those who are committed, those who are disciplined, and those who understand the task of what our Black Stars is supposed to be. Now, when this coach came, his scholars, some of the names have been questionable. Because if you pass them through these criteria I have mentioned, then there will be some names that will not pass the test that every Ghanaian citizen will want our Black Stars scholar to pass through. Again, if you take decisions in that manner, where even you, the coach, will struggle to give us consistent answers as to why player A or player B is scored. For instance, the last two games that we played, if you visit the roster from Chris Hughton, we had as many as 5 wingers. 5 wingers. We ended up playing the 2 games, and both of our starting 11 didn't have any of those conventional wingers. Then you ask yourself, what then went into the planning in him calling 5 wingers if he knew that in our game against Madagascar and Comoros, we were going to play Jordan Ayew and Inaki on the wings and had nothing to do with Joseph Pencil and the rest of the guys who are conventional wingers in our team. So you do critical detail analysis of his decisions as a coach. And you ask yourself a lot of questions. For instance, Chris tells us that a player like Majid Asimeru, even in the absence of key players like Thomas Epate and the rest, Kofi Tre and the rest, because of fitness issues, and because he's coming back from injury, he's not match fit enough, he can't start games. But then again, we go to Comoros, and we see that same coach with a principle as to why Majid Asimeru can't start games, starting Andre Ayew. Then you ask yourself, what is the criteria then? Is he being consistent with us? Ben, Chris Hughton has been with the team after the World Cup, and we are still struggling to find an identity for the Black Stars. We are still struggling to find a pattern of play for the Black Stars. We are still struggling to be able to ascertain where our cohesiveness and transitions are coming from. That is not good enough. And beyond Chris Hughton, who is supposed to get all the bashing, it's our individual players and why they are not even turning up in magical moments. Yes, beyond coaching strategy, beyond their selections, beyond their callers, beyond their tactics and match variations, the key moments in games are taken care of by the players on the pitch. And if you visit the game against Madagascar and Comoros, and you go through the highlights of the key moments in the game, then you ask yourself, before we went down 1-0 against Comoros, Semenyo should have shot us up 1-0 with that chance that was created by Inaki Williams, a through pass. And a striker in the caliber of Semenyo playing in an elite league, like the Premier League, flat his lines. And what we get is that we are punished for our striker Semenyo not scoring, but for the younger striker in Comoros, who we will even struggle to find the league that he plays in, to finish off that beautiful play and solo run that he did. Now, beyond that goal we conceded, look at the chances that was created for Inaki. Inaki plays again in an elite league for a very, very good football club, scoring for club, but can't score for country consistently. We saw chances with Jordan. So, yes, the structure of the administration is wrong. There are a lot of power play. Our coach has not shown us any sort of strong competence, and our players are just failing to turn up. It makes me miss the days of ACN Muntari and Steven Appiah and Lai Ekinson. Then there were times it was not about coach. It was about their presence, their quality, and their readiness to pick their moment and make the difference. We don't see that in this current Black Stars team, Ben.
You've made two very important points in questioning the competence of the coach, one, in getting things done with the team, and also the players, and how they also apply themselves, some of them, whilst on the field of play for the national team. And you talked about, you missing the ACNs, the Appiahs, the Muntaris, who used to apply themselves really when they were on the field of play. But one would say that if you look at the players we have in this Black Stars team, quality cannot be a question entirely, because if you have players, like you mentioned, playing for some very good teams in Europe, and some of them are actively playing week in, week out, what then can be the issue with the players? Is it that indeed we are not demanding a lot or enough from them from the technical point of view? Or what could be the issue why players will be called into the national team, will be given a chance to play, and still will not give their all in matches for the national team?
You see, Ben, if you go to pure football countries, there are players that are celebrated at the national team level. That same level of celebration will not compensate for their club contributions. For instance, you go to Germany and you name Miroslav Klose. Miroslav Klose doesn't have a great club standard. He doesn't measure up to the greats when you talk about club football in Germany. But he will forever remain in the hearts of German national team fans, because when it comes to the national team, he gets the job done. Now, you see, yes, the argument about quality of our players is very, very legitimate, because, Ben, you can't tell me that in the context of African football, a player like Usman Bukari and what he is doing with West Ham Belgrade, playing week in, week out in the Champions League, scoring goals at the Etihad against Man City, is not a quality player. He is. But how much of memories has he been able to give us when he dons the national team jersey? I remember when we were going for the World Cup, a player like Joseph Prince was left out, and everyone was amazed and surprised. And again, the debate was that we should look at his club numbers and ask ourselves whether it makes sense that we left him out. After the World Cup, he has been getting consistent callers. Till today, he has not given us any memory of him in the jerseys of the Black Stars. So when you ask that, yes, our players on paper for club look quality, and it's enough for them to translate that into a national team, then the fact of the matter is that our players are yet to give us any pedigree memory when they wear the Black Stars jersey. And that is the difference between the current generation of our Black Star players and what we used to see. So, for instance, you want to measure someone like John Mensah and and try and remember which club he played for and whether he was a great club defender. And you will struggle to put him in any standard. But John Mensah will forever be a hero in Ghana because whenever he was in the jersey of Ghana, he was exceptional. That is what we are telling our players to give us. That you can be heroes. You can be playing week in, week out for your club. You can be there and about, having the name and having some numbers attached to your name. But always, playing for the national team is different, and we've not gotten the best out of these players in our national team. That is the problem. They have the quality, but they've never been able to translate that in national team, especially with this current generation. And whether it's a problem of technical, whether it's a problem of the players' attitude themselves and their commitment, whether it's a problem of not getting the right support and not getting the right environment to bring the best out of them, whether it's a problem of they are not oriented enough to translate their club form into the Black Stars, or whether it is that how they are being used at club level, it's not the same when they come to the national team. All these things are factors that we can put together and say they are the answers that are contributing to what we are seeing here, Ben.
Absolutely. I'll let you go very soon. Really enjoying the discussions with you on the show. We are live on Star FM in Accra and in Kumasi on Ultimate 106.9. This is Friday Night Football on your radio. Ayala, before I let you go now, so going forward, yes, there's a bigger issue we need to look at with the structure of our football. But in the interim, how do we ensure that we'll get our Black Stars performing again to ensure we can qualify, for instance, for the upcoming World Cup and also go to the AFCON and do better?
Ben, that is a big question. I think so far as we've decided to still go on with Chris, we must be bold to have a frank discussion with him. But then again, you ask, who are those going to have that frank discussion?
So it means if you had your way, Chris should have been allowed to leave.
Of course. For what I have seen, I don't think he is the man to give us any hope in 50 days' time for the AFCON that is going to be played in Ivory Coast. And I say this with a lot of pain because I try to go behind the scenes, and for me, every good team, especially every good African national team, starts with a subculture of the team. Look, you go through the history of African national teams, and the reason why you can assemble great players, golden generations, but they win nothing for their national team, has always been a problem of subculture, discipline, commitment, camp issues. Now, one thing I look out for when there is a coach at the Black Stars is to slip and get the idea whether he's a disciplinarian at camp. He is trying to build a subculture within the team that makes it a very, very disciplined team. And Ben, it's fortunate to say on your show that the primary investigation, Chris is not giving the team that. He's too liberal. So the attitude in camp is not that. That is more focused. That is committed to a serious business. No. And when we have that as our foundation, it is always going to be difficult to anticipate that this Black Stars team is going to get better. So yes, just because of that, I think for me, if left for me alone, we will change. But we are not going to change him for what I know. And he is the coach that is taking us to the AFCON. So then, in discussions like this, the only solution we can confess is that he must be talked to improve the subculture of the team, to be a little more tighter which is discipline, to be a little more forthcoming with how strict these boys have to be when they come to camp. Then we must tell him that we are failing to see his identity on the team, and we must quickly solve that problem. Then again, as we approach the AFCON, in terms of the final analysis and the call-up that we are going to take there, he must be bold enough to get us players that are informed, that are ready to run, that are ready to commit to the jersey, and that are ready to, even though we are not going to win the AFCON, Ghanaians will see fighting for something. And we've seen that with Stephen Keshi, the late, with Nigeria. It wasn't their time to win the AFCON. But Steve Keshi, within a short time, only have to change the subculture of the Nigerian team. And tell all the senior players, including Peter Odiwingi and all those guys, that look, I am not here to water your egos. I am here to make sure that those who are ready to fight for me are those who are going to play. Nigeria won the AFCON. So it's not a lost situation. If case can change and be bold and try and change the subculture and give the players that are informed and young and committed to give them results, give them the opportunity to play. We do have the voice to also change our story. So we just have to do the little things that will change the story of the Black Stars, that will bring all that we are not seeing in the current team right within the team, that will give us a team spirit, the bonding of the team, and the people who are not so big in terms of their name and in terms of their pedigree and say, oh, we've been there for so long, and this is just another episode of our career with the Black Stars. So we need to change those little things, the subculture, the discipline, and be bold with our discretions in terms of the decisions we take for the Black Stars. Take the right players there, those who are hungry, and those who are not just going to say goodbye after this AFCON. Get the right attitude of players there, and let's see how it goes. We have a record. In 2010, the squad that we took there had no hope because they were not the creme de la creme of players, but they were focused, they were young, they were ready to fight, they were running. You remember Poko Ajimain and the rest, Rabiu Mohammed, them. They were not flamboyant. They are not gotten there as elite players of the Black Stars. But because of the subculture of the team, because of what they really wanted to achieve for themselves at that level, we were able to go all the way to the finals and breaking a lot of genes in us getting there. So that is what is needed in this short time. Drastic decisions, drastic decisions must be taken if we need to change our story in Ivory Coast in 50 days, Ben.
I need to appreciate your time so much. I'm so grateful, Ayala, for your time with us, and it's been a wonderful discussion with you, as always. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, Ben. Always.
Grateful. So that was Bismarck Owusu Bempah. We call him Ayala on the line with us from Kumasi. He is a